they're saying that.
Am I pretty good at it?
No, how is it working? Is it working out for you? Like, how has it been working out for you?
Having sex right up front, is that a good thing? Do you see you prospering?
Yeah, I would say yeah. I would say, to be honest with you, is that from a woman or man? It's from a woman.
Two women. Two
women. Okay, so I would say, and I'm not trying to be funny, but
no, it's okay. We want you to be honest.
Yeah, just to be honest, most men, and when you meet men, I mean, flat out, they want to have sex, which is very few men that are, spiritual enough or enlightened enough, or like Bob over here that has a lot of experience, and they're not, I think it comes with time where a man sees a woman, because when he sees a woman, most men, the way that they're attracted to women is physically. It's physical beauty, and that physical beauty is rooted in a sexual desire. Now, if he's intelligent, right, he can't let that run him, because you got a lot of pretty women that they have very wicked spirits, and you don't want to become involved with these type of women. But once the guy is, I always feel like you got a young dude. He just goes on attraction. Then you got a dude as he matures, and it can happen at any time. He matures, and the girl could be extremely attractive physically, but as soon as she opens her mouth, it's a turnoff. So there's a graduation with the guy, and some dudes, I mean, they start off good. Some dudes got to mature to it, like y'all guys were alluding to earlier. But the fact of the matter is, from a preacher to an athlete, the first thing that attracts me to a woman is physicality, and he's typically going to pursue that. Now, like I said, the first guy, the mature guy, he'll meet a girl. Hey, how you doing? Whatever his tactic is, being polite, manners, or whatever. But as soon as he meets her, and if she comes off wrong, or he can sense that she's not the type of woman that he would want to have. Like, I'll give you this experience. I got to a point where, I can be frank?
Yes.
Okay, look. I got to a point where, and I guess this is what the lady is alluding to, I guess, that, you having sex with women, and then I got to a point where, this is a long time ago, I was in my 20s, so I got to a point where I would have sex with a girl that I really wanted physically, and the instant I had a climax, like I didn't want her to touch me.
Wow.
So it was like and so that will move you to the point where you start taking your time when you meet women to, I guess you call it getting to know them, but you at least will know pretty much. You'll allow yourself to sense their nature or their being or what kind of individual they are before you waste your time, because you are taking chances with having diseases. You're taking chances with spirits jumping on you, if you believe in that kind of stuff, and pregnancy, which is crazy, right? I know a lot of people have sex with women that they will, this beautiful woman, and then she turned, and same thing with men with women. With women with men. But anyway, to wrap it up, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, men look at women from a physical standpoint, and either the mental or the spirituality is, they either allow the mental, the spirituality, or some men are still based on animal instinct to guide them to proceed from there. But to me, the initial thing, and you can meet a woman and not be physically attracted to her, right? It happens, but when she talks or her energy, you be like, God, yeah, she's not necessarily physically attractive, but I'm attracted to her. So
do you pursue her physically if she's not physically attractive?
So if I meet a woman that's not physically attractive, right? It's the same thing. The instinct is going to kick on again. You meet a woman, you didn't think she was physically attractive, but as you got to talk to her and got to know her, it's the instinct is going to get in. You're still going to have the same instinct that you want to,
just not immediately.
That you're going to want to be with her,
but not immediately.
So I have a question. Sorry for the entire panel. Okay, so is it that me personally, I think that our definition of love is where we're going wrong. I think we have this fairy tale definition of what love is, and I think that contributes to our impatience with each other. You're not riding on a horse, aka Mercedes Benz, and you're not saving me from myself. And this is just from a woman's perspective. From the guy's perspective, it could be, well, you're taking too long to give it up. Okay? The idea too of knowing, when I think of knowing, you're talking about knowing a woman, and you're talking about being intimate being sexually intimate, because there are different levels of intimacy. Being sexually intimate with her, you've narrowed it down to that's the only way to truly know someone, and I think that's problematic. And you can respond to that. But is a part of the issue our definitions of these terms? Love, this is what love is, or intimacy, this is what intimacy is. Because if we can know people without being sexually involved with them, because you touched on it, energy, you can meet someone and you could be just, their aura, their energy is attractive, and then you're like, I want to know more about this person, so then you pursue them. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical. But is there's some of the youth as well, if you guys can respond. Do you guys see that there could possibly be an issue with our definition of our perception of love and intimacy as one of the contributing factors to the problems that we are experiencing in our relationships?
Go ahead first.
Yes, absolutely. And when I first started, I didn't have sex until I was 17. And when it was recently when my cousin Naja had her baby, and we were in the hospital, and I was talking to her mom and her father. I was realizing, as a woman, you can have sex with whoever you want. There's almost no man that will turn down sex from a woman. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I knew it's more of a benefit for them, or it's more of something that they want than I want. If I'm not comfortable with it, then I'm not going to do it. And so, I forgot the question.
No, I was just saying the definition or the perception of what love and intimacy is. Maybe we're a little off with that, and that could possibly be what's contributing to our problems.
Yes, definitely. When I meet a guy, or I'm talking to a guy and we're just friends, I automatically know in my head he's a guy, he's a sexual creature. He wants to have sex. That's something I know. And for me to say, no, he doesn't want to have sex with me, or maybe he's different, that would be a lie, because I know he's a man. He's physically attracted, even if he's just a friend, that's what he's going to want. So I have to put that boundary down and say, we're not having sex until I'm ready, or we're not having sex until I'm comfortable. And 100% of the time, they're not in my life anymore because I'm not having sex with them, or, it's taking too long, or they're just ready to move on, or, they'll find someone else.
So do you find that there's pressure in your age
Absolutely.
Group from women in particular, that they feel like they have to?
Absolutely. A lot of women are gullible, and when they meet a guy, depending on how used to attention they are, will determine, in my opinion, like how they act towards this guy. So if they're not used to a lot of attention, and they're not used to people coming at them a lot, they may be really acceptive to this guy coming at him, and he wants to have sex. Well, I need to do this to make him happy. I need to just do whatever I can to keep him here. Versus if you have self-love and you know yourself, and you get a lot of attention from a lot of guys, it's real easy to be like, I don't want to have sex with you. I know I could have sex with anybody, or yeah.
Interesting. Bryson, I see you over there shaking your head.
Okay, so restate the question one more time for me.
Oh, no. I was just asking if, is it possible that our definition or perception of love and intimacy, perhaps they're warped, and that could be one of the things that's contributing to our problems in our relationships?
Yeah, I feel like our perception in general is just misconstrued and just even the definition, you really just go back to, you probably can ask everyone on this panel, like, when did you first find out about sex? Was it something that was taught to you or brought to your attention, or was it something that you experienced personally? Like I'm just looking from, if I'm looking at the field from all angles, everybody didn't have sex the same way. Some people got it taken from them, you know what I mean, against their will. Some people got molested, some people got raped. So when we come from a different perspective of that sort, sometimes people can, I mean, that's where another form of dysfunction comes when it comes to understanding love and understanding sex. And sometimes people that has those type of mishaps can come from it from just saying, okay, well, I know for a fact, like, this is how I display my love, so I'm going to have sex with this person. So when you look at it from that, when you look at it from that perspective, you have to question and wonder, how is a lot of people experiencing these things? Are these things being talked about in the household? Are parents waiting too late to talk to their kids about sex? Are we being open and upfront, or are we just scared because we don't want them having sex or bringing babies? Because I feel like that's something that need to be put on the forefront and that need to be displayed out in the open. And we don't need to be scared as parents to talk to our kids about that. And
Thank you, Bryson, for that point. Speaking of household, I did want to get back to the point of father and the absentee fathers in the household. And as we all know, a lot of the statistics show that there's a lot of missing fathers in our households where they should be or could be. How much of that do you think plays the part in the current condition of our relationships these days? Yes, sir, Barbara.
Well, it plays a big position, because most of our behavior is by modeling. It's what you see. It's by modeling. And modeling, and like our relationship, men's relationship with women's relationship with men, is pretty much going to, as much as you may say that you're not going to conduct your relationship that way, you are going to find yourself conducting them the way they are in your family of origin. And that's why you have successive generations of domestic abuse. Yes. Grandma got a behind beat, your mama got a behind beat, and now you're getting your behind beat. Why? Absolutely. Right? And because it's a modeling thing that we begin to model certain kinds of behavior. Same thing with guys who tend to be abusive. Many of them have seen that within their households. Just in terms of this thing about romance and sex and marriage and stuff, again, we just need to be bold. The young people need to be bold enough to come up with another set of values that you're strong enough and determined enough to put in place. You got to come up with something. We see the chaos of what we have presently, and how it causes intergenerational kind of things, which make for weaker and weaker families down the road. I have one son. One of my sons, he's got 2 kids, 3 months apart, and that's pretty typical for Washington D.C. He is not an unusual D.C. boy. There's a lot of D.C. boys that got 2 kids a month apart. What have you. But that kind of a pattern is really counterproductive to those children knowing and seeing what a healthy family looks like. Luckily, he's a good father. But however, in the case where that father is not present and not given the kind of modeling behavior between himself and his woman, is something that becomes intergenerational. It goes from generation to generation. So it's very, very important, that you all younger ones, you're going to have to be bold. You're all going to have to get away from what it is the majority of people are doing. Because it's going nowhere. It's going absolutely nowhere.
Yes. And Baba, that is so true. You have to be bold and you have to be secure in who you are as a person. I know earlier on when I stated that I date multiple people, the definition is so important, and I put that up front. So that gives him an opportunity. If he does not choose to pursue, if he just wants sex, that means I got rid of a headache real early. Okay? That means I got rid of a headache real early. Because a man that truly learns you and values you, he will hang in there with you. And if a man goes away within the first week or 2, that's fine, because I've walked away and have not lost anything, and I still hold on to the womanhood that I entered, meeting him. And far as the father not being in the home, let me just say this to all the brothers listening. It is imperative, whether you are with the woman, the mother of your child or not, please, please, by every means necessary, try to be in your child's life, especially if it's a little girl. Because what's happening is many of the young ladies today, they have no clue of what a good man is.
Wow.
Because there's nothing to show them what a good man is. So then you start, here we go with the media. You start watching all of this trash on TV, and then you end up fighting over something that's not even a man, it's just a male. So we have to make sure that we teach our young girls and our older women, because I'm finding that many women my age, 53 and older, are doing the exact same things, making the exact same mistakes as our younger sisters in their 20s. So there's no age limit on the dysfunctionality of a relationship.
I think a lot of that goes back to what Baba spoke on as far as development. I know we were specifically talking about the men, but what Bryson also mentioned, what we find in our community and we don't talk about a lot, is sexual abuse. And we need to understand what sexual abuse does to the development of the brain. Yes. And so you will find a lot of women who are in their 40s and 50s, and they are still functioning at the 16-year-old level, emotionally and everything, because they have never really dealt with the abuse that they've experienced. So you do see a lot of that. There is no way that a normally developing individual with no trauma should be functioning like that in their 50s. That's a sign that something is there that has not been dealt with, definitely. Yeah.
Yes. Bryson, you had something you wanted to share?
I also wanted to share that I can only speak for myself, but I really feel like every man doesn't just go off a woman or just want sex out of a relationship. You can say it's through trial and error, you know, but when it comes to you understanding who you are and finding yourself, and you understand your purpose, and there's just certain things that you understand that with great power comes great responsibility. So you can't conduct yourself in a manner that you would once do if you was ignorant to it. So if you're knowledgeable of something, then it's 9 times out of 10, if you're knowledgeable of something, then there's no excuse why you should continue to pursue or act in a way as someone that's not knowledgeable. So with that being said, I feel, I'm just speaking from my point of view, every man, or I'm one of the ones that do not feel like I need to have sex with a woman just to seek some gratification or just to know. I feel like I said, through experience and just doing different things in my life that played out, I do feel like it's permissible for everyone to take their time and to understand who they're dealing with, and understand the aura and the energy, and understand what is that person, like I said before, what is that person role in your life, and what values in their life is going to help them. Going to help you, and vice versa, what's going to help them. And another thing I want to hit on as well is when it comes to understanding who you are as a person, if you don't know certain things, then the only people going to do is just do 2 things. They're going to look at the media, they're going to look at TV, or they're going to just assume what they feel like they know the most. And most men my age, they don't want to come out and say, oh, I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do that. They embarrassed to ask for help. They embarrassed just to say certain things. They're going to do what's cool and what's, what they feel like is appropriate. So at the end of the day, when you look at that, we still looking at a bunch of individuals who still don't know who they are. And like I said before, when it comes to a certain form of trauma and things of that nature, a lot of them, even women, don't speak out about it. They don't speak out and they don't seek help. The only thing that they do, they just hide it and keep it bunched up tight, and they probably take it to their grave. So who can we really blame for that?
Right. Right. We appreciate that. And I just want to take this moment too to thank all of our panelists for being open and frank about how they feel, even if what they're saying is not
Popular.
Thank you. It's not a popular thought. The fact that you are open enough to express yourself, we do appreciate that. And that's for everybody on the panel. Does having no future goals and plans in life have an impact on the quality of people you meet along the way? Let me let's get the Baba's response. We'll go to you, back to you, Weston.
And I just can't overly emphasize to the beautiful young folks who are here about having a value system. Got to have a value system. The one that I like the most is in Nguzo Saba, and with the 5th one is purpose. And very sure about one of my daughters, my oldest daughter. She'd have boyfriends, I get to like them. And I said, what happened to so-and-so? And she would say, one guy could cook really good, too. I'm sorry, he does. She would say, it wasn't working, Daddy.
Right.
So I began to really respect her for that. If it wasn't working, she wouldn't deal with it. But one of the things that I wrote a word on here called friends. And one of the things that I feel is that we don't get to be friends with the person with whom we're engaging in a relationship. And by not getting to be friends with them, we don't really get to know them. We don't get to know them. You can even marry somebody and not know them well enough that the person's not your friend, they're your husband. And for me, already at 74, I have had a few relationships and a few marriages. Okay? And one thing I will say that I found out is that those relationships that I had that started as sexual relationships didn't really work out as well as they could have. But those relationships that I had that started as friendships, they fared a lot better. They fared a lot better. And that's one of the things I would encourage young people to do is to really cultivate a friendship. If there's no friendship, you know what? You got to like the person.
Yes.
You got to like them.
Yes.
Particularly somebody whose face you're going to be looking at every morning. No, seriously, don't joke aside.
Yeah.
You got to like them.
Yeah.
And if you don't get to know them, if you don't really get to know them as a person, then you don't really have the basis for really liking them. And I would encourage young people. There's two beautiful folks that we have, three beautiful young folks I have here on my side here. I would encourage that to be your motto. I got to get to know you, which you said already. I got to see if I like you, right? And I got to see if we can be friends, because there's not going to be any long-term relationship without a friendship.
Absolutely.
Another thing is that I told you now, the funniest thing was my 23-year-old, as a teenager, he learned how to grind. And he came over and said, do you all know about grinding? And we had to laugh like, how the hell do you think you got here? You know? But it was the most exciting thing in the world for him that he learned how to grind, how to roll his hips, right? But in my day, believe it or not, that was as far as we went, because things were put in stages. There was no I meet you, and now we jumping in the sack. And so I would say, number one, I would encourage people to develop friendships, get to know the person, see if you like them. Okay? Another thing I would say is that there's all different kinds of levels of intimacy. Penis and vagina is not the ultimate and only kind of intimacy. It is not. It is not. And for us to go from 0 to 100 is not really a particularly good thing. First of all, you may not even like the person. You may like the way they have sex, but you may not even like them. And you may not really be allowing yourself to get to know them.
What is another level of intimacy?
Oh, you know, I'm going to recommend a book. How many people have read Facing Mount Kenya by Jomo Kenyatta?
What is it?
Facing Mount Kenya by Jomo Kenyatta.
Facing Mount Kenya.
Facing Mount Kenya. I would invite you to get that book. It shows you how, that's why I'm trying to say cultural values are very, very important. The values are very, very important. Within African context, African culture, they understand sexuality is bred into our genes. But they also understand the stage. Orthodox Jews also have a process.
Yes.
They have a process.
Yes.
If you know anything about Orthodox Judaism. But there's a process where there's certain things that you do at certain stages. And certain things that you don't do till you get to a certain stage. All of which allow for expressions of physical intimacy. Okay? And I'm trying to say we need to really get back to stuff like that, because this right now we're going from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And then in between 0 and 100, you miss a lot.
Yes.
You miss a lot.
Yes.
I wanted to go to Wasita's hand was up, and then after Wasita, we're going to go to Kevin. Kevin, and then Madame in the middle.
Okay. I just wanted to insert what Baba was stating, which was an excellent value system. I also wanted to add to that value system two things that I think are pertinent. One is communication. Have good communication up front. Don't wait till later on. You should be able to feel free to discuss anything with someone you're getting to know to a certain level, how you feel comfortable with. The second thing is honesty. If you notice when I said that I was honest and I was upfront, I said I will let a person know that I date multiple people. Yes. Now, whether you think I sleep with them or not, that's your problem, not mine. Let me put that out there. But I am honest. How many people are honest to be able to say to a person up front, I date date multiple people. And why I tell them I date multiple people? Because I don't like drama. Second of all, I have clearly defined what dating is to me. So defining what dating is to you is important as well. But communication and honesty, and I think what's crippling a lot of relationships, people are not honest up front.
Yeah, true. Kevin? Thank you, Wasita.
Yeah, I just want to set the record straight that I do believe that I don't think that intimacy is the be all. I don't think that the intimacy is necessary to be all. Or I think that it is a shame if you're with a woman, y'all become intimate, and then that's the end of the exploration.
And now she has an extra body on her.
Right, exactly.
What she said?
She said now she has an extra body, exactly. Well, yeah, but I'm just interested in knowing, from Bob, because I heard him say it. So because everybody is trying to figure out this relationship thing, right? So like, what is it? Like how do you mesh? You said be friends first. In my experience, a guy that's friends with a girl for unusual long time, he's just a lover in waiting. He's not a
He's a what?
He's a lover in waiting. Yeah, most guys that are friends with lovely women, they just waiting their turn, and they not they can't cut line. So this is just from what my understanding is. I know that people fall in love. They've been friends for 6 years or whatever, then they fall in love. I know that it used to be that you weren't supposed to have sex until you got married. Like, where did that go? Right? That was out the window when I was 15. I didn't know anybody who was waiting to have sex to get married. Maybe it should go back to that. I don't know. So, how do you deal with that?
One of the things that I would suggest that book, Facing Mount Canva, Jomo Kenyatta, and it talks about rites of passage. Within societies, African, Native American societies, you don't just jump up and have sex outside of certain kinds of very, very structured kinds of ways. But you are allowed to have sexual experiences. Penis and vagina is not win-all, tell-all completion of intimacy. They talk about there's various stages of intimacy and lovemaking which do not involve penis inside a vagina. And so one of the things that's done
what's an example of that?
Actually, I think it was the Quakers, the Shakers, not the Quakers, maybe the Quakers and some other group. They called it bundling. It was practiced right here in this country by some of these white folks that came over. They could embrace, they could hug, they could kiss, but they could not put penis in vagina. Could not, and allow them to have expression of the sexual energy. For the Kikuyu of Kenya, you could bundle. It's called Nkwaku ceremony. And in that ceremony, because it's an energy, it's part of our genetic being. It's part of what we are. It's something that has to be expressed, like eating, sleeping, everything. It's probably has to be expressed. However, there are particular rules that are involved at the stages at which you can do particular things. Hugging, sleeping together, bundling. You could do everything except you could not put penis in vagina until you were prepared, and your rites of passage would prepare you for marriage. Otherwise, everybody want to get married in traditional societies, African and Native American. You don't just get up and say you want to get married. You got to finish a certain kind of criteria of emotional strength, emotional stability, physical stability, and you have to prove that you can support a wife.
Yes.
That's most important.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the various levels of lovemaking were taught, and the last one. First of all, you're not going to have good sex with somebody who you don't like. Okay? Now let's put it that way.
To add to what you're saying, at the third stage of our life, we have the summer, the spring, the winter, the fall, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Sex doesn't play into the everyday living. It's not pushed the way it was when I was 19 and 20. yeah, I want to get with you, but I don't want to get with you necessarily penis to vagina. Okay? We have an intimacy that doesn't require penis to vagina, but it's so fulfilling and satisfying for us in our relationship, in our marriage. And there are lots, like you said, lots of cultures that practice that because it is special. You have to make it special. And I want to just kind of put this out there. You go through many, many physical things in your life. Women that have cancer, they can have their vaginas have cancer and they have to be sewn up. And there's no access to it. There are men who cannot get erections. So are they supposed to not feel? Are they not supposed to touch and have the enjoyment and the pleasure of that intimacy? I love when my husband pulls his fingers through my hair. I get goosebumps on my neck. It just feels good. And tactical feeling is so important. I'm sure you know this. You're an intelligent person. If a baby isn't touched, did you know it dies?
Yes. Wait, what?
It dies. So we have to keep those things in mind and stop being so constricted in our knowledge of the human body and the spirit and just looking at somebody real hot. You know what I'm saying? There's lots. There's lots. And you have to explore that in a relationship that you want to keep. Because bam, 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 slam your man. That's later, Frida.
Wow, I love this. And what I'm hearing is that our own African culture is healthy. It's a healthy way culture to go back to, and it seems like a lot of our problems in our relationships can be solved just by picking back up our own culture.
Oh yeah, amen.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Fascinating.
So we have a question. I'll make sure we address our audience questions. I hope I can find it, but it was Amma, and it was for Baba. Okay, Baba, can you ask, she said, can you ask Baba Nana Kobina to discuss the difference between maturity versus responsibility in manhood? What are the differences? And why is it important to know the difference in mate selection and maintaining a relationship?
Well, maturity and responsibility. That's a good. Matter of fact, I had that conversation with the person that asked that question, so I know what it is. Maturity. I didn't grow up till I was 40.
Oh wow. Okay. Say that again, Baba.
I did not grow up until I was 40.
Okay.
I did not, but I was responsible.
Right.
I paid my bills, I took care of my kids, but they never wanted for anything. You know. Matter of fact, I could never figure out how I would tell my daughter, "No, you can't have that coat," and we'd walk out the store with it. To this day, I still cannot figure out how that happened. So maturity is living up to the expected levels of your chronological age. Okay, and that's why I said about this guy who got on the bus and said, "I'm a supersized kid." That's what he was. Wow. 45, 50 years old, pants below his butt, hat on backwards, acting like a complete fool. Okay, and unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be unless he gets into an intervention of some kind. So maturity is acting appropriately according to what the expected behavior is at your age level. That's maturity. Responsibility is taking care of yourself, your kids, your wife, your family, your home, your bills, timeliness, which a lot of black folks think that it's okay to be untimely, but I disagree. As somebody who's had a problem with it, I disagree. But that's responsibility. Doing things on time, doing the things you're supposed to do, whether you want to do it or not, that's responsibility. Doing the right thing. Okay?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had a question because I'm hearing a lot. We've been talking a lot about intimacy, and I've heard from Ashley, the younger persons on the panel, the importance of certain things, and we see that there's a difference with the older generation and the younger, what they deem important. And we talk a lot about intimacy, and so I don't want anyone to think that sex isn't important now. No, I know. I'm just saying that sex is important, but I've read somewhere, and I don't know, I think I flow with this, but that sexual energy is creative energy, and I truly believe that. But so if sexual energy is creative energy, shouldn't we be having a conversation with perhaps our younger people when you feel that energy rising up within yourself, is finding other outlets, because you may not always have someone there to relieve you. You may not have someone there where you can have an ejaculation. I know some people, there's masturbation and all of that's out there, but to me that's a waste of that energy. But shouldn't we be having a conversation with our younger people, or just in general, about what do we do as far as that energy, sexual energy, creative energy, where it's there, but they're presented different ways in which we can express that particular energy?
Posing as a question?
Yes.
Yes, and I would say that we need to investigate our own African culture. Africa, is a continent. It's not a homogeneous kind of thing.
Homogeneous.
We're looking at the best out of Africa, in terms of preparation for how to manage this sexual energy, and also looking at those examples you find of stages of intimacy. Intimacy, making love and having sex is not the same thing.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
Right.
Making love is you connecting with somebody in a very, very powerful, intimate way, where you care about them, they care about you, and you're really doing things to really, really experience pleasure and positive, good feeling. You may put penis and vagina somewhere along the line, but it's not necessarily. Anybody here who's ever studied Kundalini yoga or those kinds of things realizes that there are some people for whom it is a highly spiritual experience. And the objective of it is not necessarily the end point of what we do in this really crazy world that we live in, but to share that energy on a very sexual level. And lovemaking is an art. Having sex, not necessarily an art. As a matter of fact, there's some people good at it, some people ain't good at it. Because they never learned it in the rites of passage process. In the rites of passage process, they teach the men and the young women how to have sex. We're totally unprepared in this society. We don't everybody looking at pornography or listening to the dumb things that guys or girls may say that don't know what the hell they're talking about, what have you. But there's no real actual instruction that you find in traditional societies. Traditional society, they teach you how it's done. They teach you when to do it, how to do it, the proper time to do it, etc. And they teach the lovemaking process.
Bryson?
And just to add on to that, there's actually animals isn't the only people isn't the only species that has mating seasons. But human beings have mating seasons also. So men retain, or what's a better word, retaining their semen for a substantial amount of time, it helps you build strength and actually helps you keep your mind and make more sound and disciplined decisions. But pretending to just letting it off anytime of the season, it's out of orbit, you know what I mean? And yes, we human beings have a mating season and we have an unmating season. And also we got to understand, like I said, the false propaganda that's been forced on us from birth and through generations from people that think only in a sexual way. You see what I'm saying? These same people worship just the buttocks where feces come out of. You know what I mean? We look at that. We really look at these deep programming and how deep this thing goes. It goes very far. So yes, I agree. I agree with Baba here. We really have to go back to our African spiritual system and how we do things. And with that being said, we got to also understand that sex is a form of manifestation. You know what I mean? Manifestation you bring into life. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, we, like I said before, we just lack the discipline of sustaining and finding other different things to cultivate us and put us in a higher spiritual self. So with that being said, we're going to share that energy. We need to make sure we're in our higher self. And there's phases to having sex. You know, it's not just you're sitting there raping each other. You know, you're meditating. You're getting deep into, you know, the tantric spirit. Like it goes very deep. You see what I'm saying? So we got to understand that process. And also a lot of things that we manifest, it can come into existence. We can use sex to help that as well. So it's power within it. We just got to understand how to operate it and use it.
Yeah,
So,
Bryson, thank you for that. Kevin, I saw your finger. So after Kevin, because we are coming up to our time, but after Kevin, I just kind of wanted to just allow everyone on the panel to speak as far as conclusions. You know, how do we fix our relationship problems? So after Kevin, we're going to get into that so that we could just sum up everything. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, and to kind of go on what Bryson was saying as far as it's Bryson, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is that is true. You know, sex can be addictive. You know, and if a person is not really productive, he doesn't need sex, right? Because sex is a healing process. It's you know, it's not, and a lot of people will enter into it that way. That, you know, it's like if a person have a drug addict. I mean, have a drinking problem, right? They depressed, so they drink. It's the same thing. People use the sex in the same way. So I just feel like, you know, it has to be a healthy process. That's it.
You had something you wanted to say.
Oh, no, I just basically wanted to say that when you talk about intimacy, just a simple conversation, a soothing conversation, just like a baby that hears his mother's voice is soothing. You know, there's so many ways. You can dance, you can laugh, hold hands, you know. It doesn't necessarily, like Baba was saying, the vagina and the penis. There's foreplay before you even get to intimacy. You know, so you have to find out what that foreplay is that works. You know, send a sexy text. There's so many ways, you know, to go eat ice cream together. That may sound bizarre to some people, but just that time alone and connecting before you even become physical, it stimulates that, you know. So if we get from the mainstream version of intimacy and get back to our roots, because what I'm feeling from this entire panel is our African roots is a foundation of love. And when you build on love, the house will stand.
Yeah. I know that a couple of people, Baba, you touched on the importance of forming, creating, or borrowing, or depending on value system as one of the solutions. Where Sita talked about communication and honesty from the jump. And Madame, you mentioned, you know, talking about making sure that we have the, you know, having these things within ourselves so that we don't search for them outside of ourselves. And Kevin also mentioned that as well, the importance of being happy with yourself so that you don't depend on someone else. So those are some solutions. And so I wanted to, you know, talk about some other solutions. Where do we go from here? You know, we're hearing from Ashley, who is, you know, 22 years old. And what do we say to people who are now out there as young as her, or even younger, because teenagers are dating now, 18, right?
And I wanted to say that it's not even just in the 20s. You have 10-year-olds out here having sex. It's not even. I remember we used to go outside and play. That's what we did after school. And now it's like, whose house are we going to have sex? You know, it's so bad. It's so bad. And teenagers are pregnant. That's why there's so many kids now. You know, everybody having babies. It's starting from the youngest of the generation. And I do believe it's our older people not standing up enough and putting a foot in, trying to put a stop to it. You know?
Village.
If you're leaving it to us to lead the way, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Thank you for your honesty. So what do we do? What needs to happen? What are some things that we can start implementing first in our own lives, and then within our own communities, in our families, and then within our own communities, so that we can see a shift in that, where we don't have young boys and young girls coming up at 12 and 13, and the only form of intimacy they know is penis to vagina. That is the only form, and they're not finding out about it until well in their 40s. You know, so
I'll be honest, I'm just now learning about it now, sitting here with you guys.
Wow.
I didn't know it was another form of intimacy besides penis and vagina.
Wow.
And so now I'm like, gosh, I have a lot to learn. You know?
That's why we're doing this.
That's a powerful
Yes.
statement. That's
But-
powerful.
Madam?
I appreciate all of you on the panel, but I want to say that the energy that I'm getting from these two brothers here is so overwhelming and so powerful that I have to say this. We need you, Nana, and we need you, Bryson. We need to clone you almost, because we don't have enough mentors
Yes,
to speak to this issue.
that's right.
We need you. We need every age group that is represented here to go into the school system, to go into the church, to the mosque, to places where young people gather. And then here's the other thing. A lot of times, we don't want to hear young people talking about something that you're supposed to be mature to go into.
Right.
So I went out to a retreat to teach young girls from 12 to 15. It was 20 of them. And when we sat around on the floor talking, and one of them started talking about anal sex, all of the mamas in the room was like shriveling up. You don't have to experience that to be able to speak on it.
Exactly.
You can damage yourself so bad, or somebody can damage you so bad, and all the things that could happen as a result of doing that. So, I mean, nothing should be off the table
Right.
when our kids come and bring something to us. One other thing, and then I'm going to be quiet. I have two sons, and they're both grown men now. But when they were young, 10, 11 years old, and the little girls were so raw in the community where we lived, it was almost like they were trying to rape them. And they came home one day and said, "Mom," my oldest son, he said, "Mom, this girl took her breast out of her bra and she told me to suck it." And I was like, "Oops." Do I go beat her up? What do I do? It was, I had to put on this face to say, "Well, did you like it or did you not like it?" He said, "Well, it wasn't bad, but I didn't want her to hold my head." Okay? I'm saying that the things that our children can bring to us, if I had shown my disdain or upsetness at this having happened to him, because I almost felt like he was assaulted, I had to stand down on it and just come out real soft and kind, like, "So what do you think? How'd that feel to you?" And he was able to talk more about it. We have a very, very good, honest, and open relationship now, and they're both grown men. But if they got a pimple on their butt, they can say, "Mom, what's this?" Okay? So I say that to say to all of you, you have children, love them enough to be vulnerable and listen to all of their honesty. They want to tell, but they want to tell you, and you got to be able to hear it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that want to come before we close? Again, the question is, where do we go from here? What are some of the things that we need to see implemented?
I think we need to be bold enough, the adults need to be bold enough to speak truth to power. We must, regardless of whether the school board or our federal government or any other entity think that we are out of line, we must stay true to our roots. We are at an age now, 21st century, we see what's happening, and the only ones that's going to save us are us. And we have to understand, we have to start implementing, Baba, your system, the value system. It's up to us to implement a value system, not only by word, but also by deed. We have to practice what we preach. You can't say, "Don't do this," and they watch you doing that. understand the role models are not on the football field. The role models are in the house.
Absolutely.
They are in our communities, you know. So these are some of the things we need to keep in mind as we go forward. And to the young people, patience. Understand that word, gravitate to it, and exercise it. You don't have to rush. You do not have to rush. And if a man cannot wait for you, thank God he left you. Understand? And the same with strong brothers, because I just felt this energy, the same thing you said, sister. This energy here, look out, I'm about to run a marathon when I leave here. This brother right here, you know, T'Challa. Okay, right? But seriously, we need to and uplift those who are showing patience. Let's uplift and shine the spotlight on our brothers, young brothers and sisters that are doing the right thing. You know, so that's what some of just a few suggestions that we can do that could better our relationships. Honesty up front.
Thank you. Kevin, do you have something to what do we need to see implemented, like, so we can start to improve on how we do relationships?
I just think that, first of all, you're gonna have to deal with the reality of the circumstances. You can't deal with circumstances the way you like for them to be. You have to deal with circumstances the way they are. Okay, so you know, at this point, the only thing I can think of is just brothers. You know, older brothers should just give good advice to younger brothers about, you know, not necessarily about the, you know, the player side of it, but about the honest side of it too, so that they can, you know, because we had pitfalls, so we know the dead end streets when you play that player side too long. So we can just tell the brothers, you know, so they can tell them what's really happening. Because I remember when I was coming up, my uncle told me, he was like, look, just wait till you like 50 or something to get married, because I mean, he was just being serious. And he told me, he said, wait till you 50. He said, because you know, he was telling me the reason why you wait till you're 50 is because that way, if you're in the bed and you stop breathing, you know, your wife can call the ambulance. So the point was, you know, he was just like, he was playing, but I remember it now. So sometimes we gotta, if we do give them advice like that, we gotta give it to them in context. So, because it was given to me out of context, and it meant something else to me, but I don't think he necessarily meant that. So I think that we just have to, you know, we got to learn how to relate to the young people, and if you have young children, you got to raise them right, because you know. So
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Ashley, what would you like to see take place that will help your generation navigate this relationship thing better?
I would like to see every strip club closed down. I would like to see all these, you know, superstars and celebrities that are being praised for nothing positive to just be taken away in a way, because I feel like society and what we see on TV and what we see on, you know, computers and social media, it plays a bigger role than parents nowadays. And people are listening to what they see online and what they see on TV and what the rappers are saying and what Nicki Minaj is saying more than they're listening to their parents. Even though these people are wrong, they see it as, okay, well, they're being praised. They got a lot of money. It's something positive. They see something positive in it, and it's very negative. And if I could just take all that away, because I have a 2-year-old little boy, and I don't want him, you know, growing up thinking that this is okay, and I can do everything in my power to teach him better, but if that's the only thing he's around, then I feel like some part of him is going to be interested in it or curious about it, or, you know, want to see more, want to do more, because that's just how, you know, humans are, you know. Even though my mom said not to do it, I still might want to do it. So if we could just, adults, take initiative as to what you're showing kids and what you're putting out there, and it may not just be all about making money, you know. And I feel like that's what people are. It's how to get famous, how to make more money, how to make it to the top. But you're destroying our society. You're destroying us as a human, you know, people. So, yeah, if we could just cut all that out I think we'd be good. Yeah.
So we're going to close out with Bryson because he's the last one to speak on this. So the same question Alkama asked Ashley. What would you like to see?
I would just like to see young brothers and older men have more respect for women. I feel like women get bashed a lot in the society, in the chauvinistic society, and I feel like I feel like a lot of these celebrities and these I guess you just say celebrities that a lot of people follow. We gotta understand they are really not living like these lyrics that they talking about. They're not really living like that. They don't really come with like just the stuff that they talk about. So I feel like it's false propaganda. So we gotta understand what's real and what's fake, and we gotta separate the two. And we gotta understand, like, you know, at the end of the day, just the way that you approach a woman nowadays, would you really approach your mother like that, or would you approach your grandmother like that? If you have a child, you have a young daughter, would you call her out her name? You know, things of that nature. So I feel like we got to take more responsibility as young men to swallow our pride, even though a woman could have did something wrong, and to understand that, okay, well, if she did something wrong to you, you don't have to call out your name. The best thing you could do is set an example and move forward, because we can be stronger than that. But I just don't, I'm really disturbed about how we treat women in this society like they're trash, and I feel like they without women we wouldn't be here, period. Wow. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like, I really feel like we just gotta do better as young men and older men, as taking more responsibility and having more respect for women, because if every woman decided to cut you off, if you don't got your stuff together and you trying to get with the woman and she set up a certain bar that you can't reach, you know they done set the tone already. You can't. It's nothing you can really do. So with that being said, we need to do more of that. And also, young sisters, we gotta respect ourselves a lot more and understand that y'all are the goddesses. Y'all are. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to belittle yourself just because somebody tell you this and it's redundant and you keep hearing it over and over. You're not a bee. You're not a hoe and all these other different things. You know what I mean? You're a queen. You're a goddess. So at the end of the day, conduct yourself as such, and don't be sucked into what society has put on you and this false propaganda they have thrown on you. And with that being said, I just feel like if we all can start to accepting responsibilities for our actions and start practicing being more positive and speaking more positive and start listening to more positive things and just start understanding that we are being watched by the younger kids and the younger generation, we can start to make a change. But it's going to start with us first. And the youth are the future. So at the end of the day, when our time is up, the youth, that's what's going to come up, and that's who's going to be, taking control of this wheel that we call life. So with that being said, I just feel like we just need to be more positive and treat each other with more respect.
Thank you. Baba, my apologies. I thought you already got your word in, but we're going to end with you.
Me?
Yes, on the question, what would you like to see happen, or what needs to happen? What do you think needs to happen as far as fixing the problems that we're seeing in our relationship? So we're going to end with you.
He touched on it. The older men need to find out where they are in their development. They need to get caught up. That's why I do the men's workshops. They need to get caught up where they're supposed to be. They need to talk to the younger men and listen to what the younger men have to say, and and provide that guidance. I believe that groups need to form, the object of which is to find out where in the history of humankind are we supposed to be at particular points in our life, and how do we prepare for it. And I would suggest that for the men and for the women, and as I said before, find a value system and live your value system, regardless of what's happening around you.
Yes.
All right. Well, that concludes our panel discussion. I know I learned a lot of things today, and I'm hoping that you guys did too. We thank you guys for joining us here in the lounge, as well as our audience online. If there was anything that was said in this conversation that you think other people should know about and should hear about, please share. Please share this stream with your friends, your family. You never know who is on the other end of that share that needs to hear this information right here, right now, in this time in their lives. So again, we thank you for joining us. We thank all our panelists. You guys did great. All of you did great. Thank you so much. Yes. And Eva and I will be right back with you next week, same time. We're going back to our regular hour schedule programming. I'm sorry, Mama wanted to say something.
Burning. The workshops that Bubba is giving,
yes.
If he could give a number out,
yes,
that would be so.
Thank you for that.
That
phone number for your workshops, Baba.
I do workshops for men, and I do I do workshops for men, and I do relationship workshops for all ages. For the older people that don't go, the young people, I have a special one I do just for seniors. But I have a general workshop for the everyday public on getting the skills and tools to have a successful relationship. Number 202-294-4471, 202-294-4471.
294-4471. All right. And then Bryson, I know you work in the magical land of numbers. So talk really, we only have like 15 seconds. Tell them about what you do and if you want to share where they can reach your information.
So basically, I can break down people's birthday numbers and tell you your life path and things of that nature. Tell you how you can use that to better yourself and to heal different things that goes on in your life. I also can break down your names using the Pythagorean chart or the Chaldean chart, which is basically like a translator to translate your name over into numbers and how they hold vibration. So you see, you won't give me my information.
If you're comfortable.
Okay. My telephone number is 301-257-7644, and you can also follow me on Instagram at gifted_soul_ and gifted_soul_. Yes.
Okay. All right. There you have it. All right, fam. We got to wrap this up. So, like our Facebook page, which is Empower Our Talk Show, to get more quality information and more powerful things like this. Again, we do it every 1 hour Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. Until next week, take care. Peace.
Yes.